by making a new Photoshop file. So if you've got Photoshop open, which I asked you to do, regardless of whether you've got your scan or not, just say New File. You're going to choose a print option, which will automatically give you that 300 pixels per inch. Measure in millimetres, makes more sense to you. And we'll perhaps do landscape and A4. So it's just a basic, and instead of a white background, it would be a lot faster and easier if you just already have a transparent background. That way when you delete things, you'll actually see what you deleted. Oh, I thought I did a landscape one. So I'll just repeat it anyway. New print document, measure in millimetres, 300 pixels per inch, leave it in RGB colour, change it to a transparent background. I'm going to do landscape, A4 landscape, transparent background, ta-da. So it should look like that. Okay, the next step is to go File, Place Embedded, and go and find your scan that you want to use. I don't know which one that is, but I'll just pick somebody's. Oh no, that's not it. Wrong one. So you can do File, Place, go off, and most of you will have your work in the Downloads folder, because that's where I dropped it to you. Place that one. Not my favourite one. Okay, we'll use it anyway. So when you hit the return key, you will see that you've got this little symbol here, which tells you it's a smart object. So I'm going to do it again. So File, Place Embedded, go off and find the one you want. I'm sort of randomly picking them, I don't know which one I've got. Okay, that's a different project. Place Embedded, third time lucky, it's got to be one of these. Okay, there's one of yours work, yeah? Now at this point, it's what's called a smart object, which means we could scale it up and down without losing too much quality. So if at this point your object needs a little bit of scaling, you would scale it, move it into position to where you're happy with it. And then when you're happy with it, hit the return key. You get this little icon telling you it's a smart object. What's a smart object? It's a link to the original file. So if you double click on that, particularly if it's a logo, it's going to open the original file. It's PDF, so it's reopened it in PDF. What's a smart object for? Well, if you think about logos, when you bring a logo in, you might be putting it onto a Photoshop document and you don't want to turn that logo into a bunch of pixels and therefore lose quality. So the logo would come in and stay a smart object. You wouldn't rasterize it. But we want to be able to edit the pixels here. At the moment, because it's a smart object, if I try and use a paintbrush on it, look, it doesn't let me. Okay, so we have to rasterize that layer. Okay, so we have to go Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object. And you'll notice the little smart object symbol disappears. But you don't always want to rasterize everything. If you've got some Illustrator work with sharp vectors, you want to keep them there, but you're combining that vector on maybe the cover of a magazine, you're working in Photoshop, you wouldn't rasterize it. The other thing that would let you do is go back to the original Illustrator file just by clicking on that little icon, and you could edit the original and it would update in your Photoshop document. So smart objects are super important, but we don't want to keep this as a smart object. We want to edit it, so we've got to rasterize it. Basically, we've got to turn that into a bunch of pixels so we can edit the pixels. Does that make sense? So you just rasterize that smart object, you'll see the little thing disappears, and now if I want to go ahead and paint, I could paint. whereas I couldn't before. Okay, so that's smart objects and rasterizing. So what we want to do here is get rid of the background. We've got a lot of tools to do that. So we've got lasso tools, we've got magnetic tools. These are all selection tools. A new one is this selection brush tool, which literally lets you paint a selection, so that's useful. However, there is a kind of easy one. If you've got good edges on the object, which this one does, you can actually just go object selection and just drag over the entire thing and see what it does for you. Now, it might have done a pretty good job. I won't really know unless I hit the delete key. No, not so good. It's probably not going to be usable because it's missed out the ones on that. So maybe that one will work for some people. You also have the quick selection tool, which is great, and you can just do a little bit at a time and get the individual bits. So some of you might find that works pretty well. You also have the magic wand tool. So if you've got no white inside your object, then you could select the outside just with the magic wand tool. With the magic wand tool, you have what's called a tolerance, which just basically means get more of the same colour. So I've said select all the white, and I can put that tolerance up to 100 and it will get even more of the white when I use it. So you can experiment with these to see what, now I put it at 100, you see it's getting, maybe it's getting, see it's got some lighter bits. So that's not good. So I just want you to really spend a little bit of time really exploring these so you get to know them. Each of you will probably find there's a different tool or a combination of these that works for you. So we could try just dragging with the object selection tool on one of these, see what it does. Pretty good. Hit delete, it's got pretty good outline, but to get rid of that I'd want to select inverse, but oops, that's going to get the rest of my everything, alright? So maybe I don't want to use that tool. Okay, but I want you to get to know these tools. They're selection tools, they're very important. So you've got that whole group. Again, the quick selection tool is great. You just do a little drag and it gets a little bit at a time and it finds the edge. That might do it. If you've got an active selection, see the little crawling ants? We call them crawling ants. Just do Command D to deselect them. If you can't memorise that, go up to the select menu and you'll see that anything to do with selections is in there. So if you want to save a selection, modify it, or deselect, see there it is, deselect. Or for a lot of people it's just, hey, we use that all the time, let's just learn the shortcut. So whenever I've made a selection and I don't want it anymore, Command D just gets rid of it. So either use the keyboard shortcut, Command D, so I've got a selection, I decide not to use it, I just do a Command D, or select menu and deselect. So learn that. So select menu.
Similar.
Sorry?
You can also go select similar and get all the white that way.
You could, yes. But first off, just do the basic ones. You also have this nice little tool, which is the selection brush tool. Basically what that lets you do is paint a selection, and then when you click away, you see that's actually turned into a selection. I'll zoom up on that so you can see, because you might decide that's a good one if you're having trouble with an edge. If one of the other tools got a pretty good approximation but you had an imperfect edge, you could come in with this and you're literally just painting, sorry that's the wrong tool, this one, it paints a selection. So you can see that it represents what you're doing with what looks like a colour, but it's not really a colour, it's actually a little mask. And when we click away from that tool, that turns into a selection which I can then delete. and then Command D, deselect when I'm finished with that. You might find that you can get a pretty good thing with one of those object tools, but then you need to zoom up and have a look in closer. See, that's not great. I actually didn't do a very good job there because I was too far out. See how that was not very good? So I'll Command D again, and if I want to do a better job of that, I can come in with my paint selection tool, zoom right up. So Command plus is your shortcut for zoom. The other thing you can do is use your zoom tool here and just drag on an area, hold the mouse key down, and you can zoom in and out. If you've zoomed up on an area and you're getting a bit lost, switch to the spacebar key and you'll see it turns into a hand key, and then you can move the object around the screen even when you're zoomed up. See, I'm really pixelated. The shortcut, and I'll write these up on the board in a minute, is Command minus, so the Command key, which is next to the spacebar key, Command minus to zoom back out, and Command plus, so I'm using the plus symbol on the keyboard to zoom up. So that makes it easy, and then if you're really zoomed up and you're getting a bit lost, switch to the spacebar key and then you'll see the tool switches to a hand and you can move yourself around in there. So at this point, really, maybe a bit too zoomed up, so I'll get somewhere I'm a bit more comfortable. Please don't interrupt right now. I'm recording this. You'll have to wait. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, so selection brush tool, okay? That is a pretty good one for when you're zoomed up and you can make a smaller key. Now, if you're using a tool, another shortcut, and again, I will write these up for you, is to use the bracket keys on the keyboard. They will increase the size of the brush and decrease the size of whatever tool brush you're using. That's also very useful. If that's difficult to remember, you can always go up and change the brush settings up here. So you can see for any brush you're using, any tool, you will get a size, but you do have to go up here and then fiddle here. So instead of that, I do suggest, see, I've increased the size, but it's much more kind of intuitive to get to know the bracket keys and just move them up and down using that. So I've gone a bit crazy there. Sorry, my keys really got too big there. I couldn't control it. Oh, lost myself. Sorry guys. There. So I'll just Command D, deselect. So what I was trying to do is be really zoomed up and use quite a small version of this. So really get it very small so that I could come in here and paint that selection on. So I paint that, click off it, that becomes a selection I can deselect. So pretty much the standard thing to do is to try out some of the other tools first and then maybe use the painted selection tool, the selection brush tool, to just fix up any really rough areas. So this will take you a little while. So do spend a bit of time getting a good selection. Once you've got one of your little creatures, and you might have more than one, some people did a couple, some people only did one, whatever you've got, and whichever one of those tools you use, once you're happy with it, you can use the lasso tool or one of these rectangular tools and just drag over, so either like that or use the lasso tool which is under here, that lasso tool, and you can just circle around your little creature, join it up, and then copy it, Command C, and then make yourself a new little Photoshop file, a much smaller one, still print, still doing it in millimeters, still having a transparent background, but maybe just if it's quite small, maybe just do it at, let's say 150 by 150 millimeters. Just depends on the size of your graphic a bit. So it's just a very small little board that we're making. And then when I do that, I can either Command V or go Edit Paste. So Edit Paste, and there it is. And if I want to reduce the size of the little artboard, I could use the crop tool and come in a bit closer. The other thing you could do if you've got a very small graphic and you think actually I probably should have made it a little bit bigger, the other thing you can do is Edit, Transform, and you can actually just scale up your little creature, but make sure you're holding down, well actually don't hold the Shift key down in Photoshop, it's very weird. All you do is just grab it and scale it. Don't hold the Shift key down. It's the opposite of every other program, don't ask me why. If you hold down the Shift key, it'll actually start distorting. So just be aware of that. I just went to do it because I'm in the habit of doing it too. So yeah, Photoshop, they've done a weird thing when you're scaling. Don't use the Shift key. Who knew? Anyway, so once you get to that point, that's as far as we'll go, and then we're going to stop. So that's going to take you a little bit while. At that point, once you've got a few of these, or at least one isolated, then we're going to do the exercise of changing the colours to suit the colour harmonies that you're going to choose from adobe.com. So don't try and do anything more than just this step of isolating them and creating a new document of it. When you've got them, save them. I'll just apply that. Somewhere sensible. So I'll just save it on documents to begin with and give them a name that makes sense to you. So I'll just call that little creature 1. So I know what it is, so I can find it and save it. Maybe make a new folder with all the documents for this project in there. Call it wrapping paper and put these in there so you know what they are when you go to find them for the next step. Okay, that's it. And you can keep them open in Photoshop because we're going to start changing the colours and playing more with them. So that's the first stage. Now I'm going to stop recording now and go back to the people that need to scan.